welcome to the MSK 2018 Thrivership Celebration. This is your celebration. Before we begin, and I know I will forget if I don't do this now, let me first thank the people who made this possible. From Public Affairs, Joe Logan, Alex Lucchina. From the BMT service, Allison Manley, Chelsea Brooklyn, Tatiana Gelfand, and all the POAs and SAs and staff that really participate and make this their event too. Let me thank the people from 583 Park Avenue who helped us set up this wonderful venue. And most importantly, let me thank you. We used to call this the Survivorship Celebration. And a person very close to my heart actually challenged us and say, why just survive? Why not thrive? And she was here last year to celebrate her 5th year. We will miss her this year, but I want to thank her because it does give a different message. You are thriving. Things have changed, and the first obvious change is you're seeing it today. Last year, we had 550 registrants. And to his thanks, the fire marshal came to advise us that we would never be able to do that again. So this year, we opened a larger venue, and there are 750 registrants. So I do need to recognize that other things have changed. And we do, for many of you know, Dr. Gunter Kone has left to lead the transplant program at the Miami Cancer Institute. And it's great that he will continue to work with us in many capacities because of our alliance with that center. Dr. Craig Moskowitz, who many of you know is the cheerful guy. And I mean, our first administrative program manager, Alyssa McMahon, who started the program and really helped us, grow the way it has grown, has moved on, and she has left her place to our wonderful Chelsea Brooklyn, who began her career with us and now is back. So I want to welcome, our new candidates or our new persons working with us. What has not changed? We continue to grow. And this year will actually mark the first year that the adult BMT service does more than 500 transplants in a year. I would be remiss if I did not say that we do 500 transplants every year, and we can do that because we have the most wonderful, spectacular, sensational, marvelous group of nurses, advanced practice providers, PharmDs, social workers, case managers, and ancillary healthcare personnel, in addition to a medical faculty that is a pleasure to work with. We are trying to improve the journey. And as many of you have heard me say, whenever you're around to do a clinic visit, go and visit the floors. Go up to M8, and now go up to M7 and look at the fabulous new facility we have. And just say hello. They will probably not recognize you because you will not look anyway the way they remember you. You will probably remember some of them, although we have some very new and young staff. But for us, there's nothing that energizes our day the most than see you returning to your lives. And for that, we thank you. Many of you have been to the new 74th Street residences. We are working to make the journey easier. This year, we built the garage. So many of you have heard in the press the CAR T cells We are doing them. We're doing commercial CAR T cells, investigational CAR T cells, and actually one of our former faculty, not from transplant, but from the immunotherapy program, Dr. Jim Ellison, recently won the Nobel Prize yesterday for his work on checkpoint blockade. This is our report card. And as you were my parents, I can tell you we were the best in class. And again, thanks to everybody's dedication. So we really are focusing on two things every time. And as I told you last year, if 15 years from now we continue to do transplants the way we're doing today, slap me silly because I have failed. We need to increase access and improve outcomes. We actually are reaching out to our regional sites, Lehigh Valley and Hartford Healthcare. We actually received 30 patients from Hartford Healthcare, which we don't think would have had access to transplant unless we would have developed a special alliance. We have listened to you, and we're bringing the transplant program more to the regional sites. And we have the OSCAR program. Dr. Oscar LaHood now provides transplant care in Comac and Rockville Center, trying to minimize or reduce the times you have to come to Manhattan. It is a pilot. If it works out, we're going to try to extend it to the other regional sites. So one of the things I like to show is that we're good at everything we do. Cord blood, haplo, T-cell depleted. And that, again, is thanks to the support you have given us in our research, which has allowed us to push the envelope forward. So you see here a picture of Dr. O'Reilly. The first time I met Dr. O'Reilly, he told me something I will never forget. Graft versus host disease is a high price to pay for cure. And he pioneered the memorial way of doing transplants in which for specific and selected patients, we are able to reduce the risk of graft versus host disease to less than 10%. We have now finished in record time a randomized trial showing, or hoping to show, that the memorial way is the right way to do transplants. I know you all know that many of our friends and former patients are not here today. And they're not here today because, unfortunately, they had serious life-threatening complications. It is the commitment of the adult BMT service to reduce transplant-related complications to less than 5% in less than 20 years. And we are going to do that. The first step is to sharing knowledge. And we just had our first international symposium regarding transplant-related toxicities. Nothing is off the table. We're exploring everything from microbiota, cellular therapy, maintenance, new conditionings. Our goal is to have a 95% or more success rate across every transplant we do. Our goal is that anybody who suffers a blood cancer or a blood disorder will immediately say, why not just do the transplant and get it over with and be cured? So we can't do it alone. I want to encourage you to visit the different exhibits that we have, our physical therapists and our occupational therapists, our survivorship nurse to make sure that you've checked in, Cycle for Survival, which is so essential in helping our research program. Jenna's over there to provide information. I am going to do it for the first time this year. Miguel's there. I hope he doesn't hear me. So please visit the exhibits. And once again, thank you for coming. And I now turn the program over to Dr. Richard O'Reilly, who's going to make a special presentation.
All right, you folks. I'm standing here. This is one of those extraordinarily joyful times and also mixed emotional times for me. I love looking at each of you. I love the glorious fact that you're doing well. I started in this transplant program, established it back in 1973 when we did the first unrelated marrow transplant. And, um, and, you know, since then, there's been the National Marrow Donor Program, the development of T-cell depleted transplants, the development of novel approaches to prepare patients for transplants, now the issues of cell therapies, immunotherapies, CAR T-cells. It's been a continuing joy to be able to introduce these kinds of approaches which have really improved the overall likelihood that folks getting a transplant are going to be well. They're going to be sitting, drinking champagne, having dinner, and enjoying themselves. But I was thinking about it, you know, and that's a long time. So I am delighted today to introduce you to someone who's taken over for me. I'm still running around doing cell work, but I'm very delighted. We are now in New York City. And as you know, every time you look at the TV right now, you're looking at Jaap van Sweden, who's basically doing all these things with the Philharmonic. He's good, he's okay, but we got a better Jaap. We got Jaap Bolens. JJ comes to us from Utrecht. He trained there, got his MD, he got his PhD in Amsterdam, and thereafter did his pediatrics in Leiden, and subsequently his work in transplants in Utrecht. He's become an international leader, and he brings to our program extraordinary strengths in the whole issue of pharmacology of the transplant. When we give you these conditioning regimens, through his expertise, you can now maximize the likelihood that it's going to be effective in getting rid of disease, but at the same time, have a minimal effect in terms of toxicities. He's also been a champion in terms of gene therapies applied to several diseases that affect young kids. And he's become also a leader in the development of novel cell therapies that will be applied. So I'm very delighted to introduce him to you. Jaap, come on up.
Thank you, Dr. O'Reilly, for this super kind introduction. And I'm really humbled to serve as the new chief of pediatric BMT at MSK. And it's a true honor to be able to build on the success of the esteemed program, and you have heard some details from Dr. O'Reilly yet, that he has built over the last 45 years. And I'm standing in front of the achievements he and his teams over the last decades have achieved. So that's very special. That feels very special to me. And it's my mission in the upcoming years in the pediatric BMT and cellular therapy program to continue with the whole team of MDs, attendings, nurses, and other staff to deliver excellent patient care and also create an innovative future. And this innovative future includes development and clinical application of innovative cellular therapies. You have seen that Dr. Sergio Giralt already showed you the new garage of CAR T cells, but there are some other cellular therapies out. But this also includes improvement of the well-being of surviving patients. Thus, better quality of life, preservation of fertility, and related topics. And I am confident with all the breakthroughs in the field of immunotherapy, cellular therapy, and with all the brilliant people in the team and at MSK that we are going to give and to show that the future can be even brighter than it is already now. And celebrations like this are so important to see the achievements Dr. O'Reilly, Dr. Giralt, and the teams have achieved over the last couple of years. So I'm already looking forward to meet you all again during next celebrations. And now, it is my distinct honor to introduce to you to one of the best doctors and the most passionate doctor I have ever met, Dr. Juliet Barker.
Well, that was very nice. Okay, so now it's going to get to the fun bit where we're going to get to meet some patients. So my name's Dr. Juliet Barker. I direct the cord blood transplant program at MSK, and I have the distinct pleasure to introduce one of my patients, Bridget Anderson. And just a little bit before I hand it over to Bridget, many, many years ago, Bridget was diagnosed with acute leukemia, came to MSKCC and needed a bone marrow transplant. So, by chance, she did not have a matched brother or sister to use as her donor, and by an exotic twist of her ancestry, she also did not have a matched adult volunteer donor, so we used cord blood to promptly transplant Bridget. And what is most striking about Bridget is the fact that during her transplant, she was always smiling. She was always so gracious. She was always in such a good mood. She was also always so generous to the staff. And she kind of made the transplant look like fun. And transplants aren't fun, as we all know. So it was such a pleasure to look after her. So one day she came into clinic and she was wearing heels. And I thought, wow, she looks better. She must be feeling better. The heels continued, and I thought, we have nailed this, because there is absolutely no way she would be able to wear heels if we hadn't basically cured her and made her happy, well, and able to wear heels. So now we compare, where did you get those shoes? Where did you buy these shoes? And it's just a lot of fun. And in fact, yesterday we were even comparing what dress, what outfit, what shoes. So without further ado, I would love to introduce Bridget to say a few words.
Good evening. My story begins probably a lot like yours. I wasn't feeling well. I knew I wasn't myself, constantly exhausted, heartbeat racing after I walked a short distance. I noticed red dots around my ankles and my wrist. I had to go see a doctor. I told him of my symptoms, and I'll never forget the reply of my primary doctor. He said, "Well, Miss Anderson, you've gained 6 pounds since your last visit, so I can understand you're tired carrying that extra weight around." Yeah, you heard that correctly. Anyway, my blood work results came back, and I needed to see a hematologist oncologist. I shared that I had a trip planned that weekend to Colorado to go to the Red Rocks Amphitheater to see a concert. The reply was, "This is serious and should not be put off." While making an appointment the next day, I was asked what my white blood cell and platelet count was. Who would have thought how intimate we would become with those numbers for the rest of our lives? I replied my white blood cell was 16 and my platelets were 11. The woman replied, "You need to get here immediately." Upon arriving, I had a blood smear and what would be the first of many, many bone marrow biopsies. I agreed to the test. I called my mom in Philadelphia and my then boyfriend who lived in Chicago, sharing this information nonchalantly. The next day, it was a Saturday, I got the call. "You have acute lymphoblastic leukemia. You need to get to the nearest cancer center immediately and plan to be there for 3 weeks to a month." And now, I am in the midst of a journey that a lot of us in this room are on. Be it patient, parent, lover, spouse, family, caregiver, friend. We are all on this journey together. I stand here right now, a few days shy of 3 years post-transplant. I am here to say that there is hope. There is hope in a cure. There is hope in medicine. there is hope in research, there's hope in people, and there's hope in MSK. And of course, there's hope in the Hope Lodge. I was initially told there was a 20% chance of cure through chemotherapy treatment. My next best option was a bone marrow transplant. Okay, if that's what it's going to take. Then the search for a donor. Turns out there was not a viable match. One match did come up in the database, but that was me. It was a tough call, having to call the operator at Be the Match and say that not only couldn't I help save a life, but that I needed to be removed from the database of eligible donors because I have leukemia. On to option 3, a cord blood transplant. And while there are several choices and amazing facilities in the region and across the country, there really was only one, Dr. Juliet Barker at Memorial Sloan Kettering. Dr. Strayer from Robert Wood Johnson told me Juliet is the guru of cord blood. Okay, well, let's go find her. And off to New York City we came. I met with Dr. Barker and her team. We had a discussion, reviewed my records. A few days later, I was a candidate for a double cord transplant with a haplobridge. Okay. But this time I know I had a 50% chance of survival. I was admitted to Sloan on my 45th birthday. Talk about putting the aging process in perspective. I started protocols, medication, more chemo, radiation, all prepping for October 7th, 2015, the day of my transplant. I did not know what to expect, but I knew I was in the right place and trusted the process. The procedure began. Baby 1, baby 2, cousin Kurt. I was very fortunate during my chemo treatments. I did not experience many side effects. Well, other than losing my hair, my appetite, and a lot of weight. Take that, 6 pounds. But for the most part, I powered through. I anticipated the same for my BMT. Well, I was in for a surprise. I don't think anything can prepare you for a bone marrow transplant. However, the staff at MSK does something even better. They help you through it. The infusions, the platelets, the blood, poking, prodding, needles, fevers, medicine, side effect, tests, dry mouth, exhaustion, nutrition, hydration, exercise, encouragement, assistance, and information. It took me 38 days to engraft. Who can forget the daily labs? Where are my counts today? How do they compare to yesterday? I was disheartened a few times when my white blood cell and platelet count would creep up ever so slightly, only to crash later that day or the next. It was day 38 and my white blood cell count was close to 1. It needed to get over 1 in order for me to be able to leave my room and go for a walk. My day nurse, Bridget, who was 37 weeks pregnant at the time, stayed late to make sure the lab gave me my numbers. They came back, I was at 1.1. As a show of appreciation, I made it a point to leave my room that night and begin to walk around the hall. I didn't make it too far, but I took the first steps. At this point, I also would like to add, whoever's idea it was for the employee seasonal photography slideshow on the computer, thank you. The beauty of the seasons, the whimsicalness of the photos, the ability for me to pace myself, to get to the next monitor, to see the next picture. It made me smile and was a benchmark. It's the little things during my recovery that became tough, taking a shower being the hardest. The exhaustion was almost unbearable. Trying to read but not having the ability to concentrate. Wanting to journal but my hand shaking so badly whatever I wrote was ineligible. The key to my recovery was support. I received from so many people, encouragement, pictures, gifts, notes from friends, near and far, old and new. High school, college, former careers, my family, my mom, my dad who made a 3-hour one-way trip multiple times to check in on me, my coworkers, my boss and his wife who would bring me my wig and makeup and wanted to know if I had a date. Everyone stepped up. A lot of the support gave me pause. The sheer amount of love and prayers that were sent my way touched me in such a manner, I'm still overwhelmed. My inpatient nurse practitioner, Emily, her bright smile, the concern and encouragement she gave me, even when she interrupted cuddle time with Charlie. I mentioned Charlie, who was my boyfriend. He slept in my hospital room for all but 2 nights of my entire stay. He took care of me. He was my advocate, my coach, my comfort, my trainer. The protein, please. He wiped my tears and my forehead and, well, other places when I did not have the strength to do it myself. He's my love. Valentine's Day 2017, Charlie and I went to the top of the Empire State Building, and the first thing we did was find the Hope Lodge. It was easy to identify, because when you're on the 6th floor patio, there's the bridge from the building next door to across the hall, and of course, the magnificent Empire State Building and its varying colors, something that excited my mother very much. She made it a point to see it every night and to make sure everyone else did too. It was the little gesture to say, keep finding the beauty in the world, keep finding a reason to smile. The Hope Lodge gives many of us reasons to smile. What a gift it was to me, my mom, others. The camaraderie, the dinners, the musical therapy, singing, arts and craft, yoga, the shuttle bus trips. We became a family, cheered when our numbers were up and treatments were going well, and gathered around and rallied and supported each other when things were not going as planned. While I was standing on the top of the Empire State Building and reflecting on how much had changed in a year and a half and how fortunate we were, Charlie did a second thing. He got down on one knee and he asked me to marry him. I said yes. The wedding date's still to be determined. I've always made it a point to smile whenever I make eye contact with people, especially strangers. I really believe in smile and the whole world smiles back at you. I tend to be a happy and positive person. Never once during my entire treatment did I ever think it wasn't going to work. I knew it was. I remember the night of the bone marrow survivor celebration in my hospital room in 2015. The nurses and the doctors were getting ready to come after their shift. I asked Charlie to put it on. It was supposed to be on closed circuit TV because I wanted to see what everyone was wearing so I knew what I was going to wear in 2016. I remember hearing the day you're 100% donor. Baby 1 prevailed. It had been a circuitous route to thrivership, ups and downs and counts, still fluctuating, slowly, ever so slowly, becoming a thriver. It's a new way of life. I have done a lot in the 3 years since my transplant. I went back to work, created memories, reconnected with old friends, completed trips that were planned. This Labor Day, I finally made it to Red Rocks. Amongst the mountains of the Colorado and night sky, on a late summer night, I listened to my favorite musician, closed my eyes, looked up to God and the universe, and said thank you. While this is a journey I never would have chosen, I am grateful for having been through it because it has given a new appreciation for this thing called life. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor tonight to introduce 2 of my very special and dear friends and patients here. First, Mr. Martin Pogorzelski. Martin underwent an allogeneic stem cell transplant in 2014. He had a very complicated and challenging transplant course. However, with determination, perseverance, and incredible support, family support, he overcame all of those challenges, and he's here with us tonight, fully recovered from transplant. At Memorial Sloan Kettering, we consider our patients our families. And in Martin's case, this certainly applies because he actually got married to one of our amazing nurses, Krista. and I had the honor and pleasure of attending their beautiful wedding. Please welcome Mr. Pogorzelski.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Daki. Sir, you have to go to the emergency room right now. Those words changed my life. It's been 5 years since I was diagnosed with ALL. I was 28. It's been 4.5 since I went through all the chemo and radiation. It's been 4 since I got my bone marrow transplant. And then I could go back home and start the recovery process. It's been 3 years since I could even imagine about going outside, interacting with people, and maybe even perhaps going into the office. It's been 2 years since I got promoted into one of the most competitive areas of finance, quantitative research. It's been 1.5 years since I proposed at the Grand Canyon to the dream girl that God sent to me. And it's been 1 year since I tricked that dream girl into marrying me. So I'm 33 now, and yeah, that day 5 years ago, it did change my life. But I've had positive milestones, and it's changed it for the better. But the reason it changed it for the better is because of what I learned on my journey. I learned about love. I learned about the love of a mother who would stay in the hospital room and wake at the slightest sound just to make sure that her son was okay. The love of a father that upon hearing of his son's diagnosis, he absolutely moved heaven and earth to make sure that his son was getting the absolute best care at the best facility possible. I learned about compassion and empathy from the nurses, doctors, and support staff, trying to keep the fragile light of life lit inside of me. I saw nurses first. I saw nurses just going that extra little bit to make sure I was just a little bit more comfortable. I saw doctors delivering news that maybe wasn't so good, but with empathy. Hey, your results came in. I'm sorry, but there's still signs of disease. But there are other options, and we'll move forward. I saw doctors delivering fantastic news. Your results are in. There's no sign of disease. Yeah. And most importantly, I learned about life, just like the previous speaker mentioned. I learned from everyone that was on the journey with me and is still on the journey. And when I say people, I don't just mean patients, I mean everyone that's affected by it, everyone that's touched by this thing. So, doctors, nurses, family members, loved ones, everyone. And as soon as you are touched by this, you form a new appreciation for life. Every moment is precious. Every day is a gift. And every I love you and thank you has just a special weight to it. So I'll end my speech with that. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
My next special guest is Miss Jerry Hotard. She is remarkable because she took charge of her care. She planned and mapped out the entire post-transplant course, including the scheduling of her rotating caregivers. And what was really striking to me was the willingness of all her family and friends who were willing happily to fly from all over the world to stay with her during her transplant. Tonight, we not only have Ms. Hotard with us, but we also have a very special guest who has flown to be with us, her donor. So please welcome Ms. Hotard and Mr. Meister.
Good evening. Are you having fun? I have to say, was it not incredible to listen to Bridget of 3 years? And Martin of 4 years? Well, I am so delighted to be here tonight because this month is my 5-year anniversary. I will be short because I am your last speaker. And I wanted to say that I have found that looking back, it has been an incredible, incredible journey. And I have been supported by so many people along the way. And like many of the people who are here, you will remember all the ups and downs because it is not a straight line increase when you're getting better. It takes a very, very long time. And I had ups and downs, as many other people have. It wasn't until 2016, which was 4 years after my bone marrow transplant, that I began to feel that I could travel internationally. And my best friend called and said, "My son is going to be married in Germany in June. Do you think you could come?" And I said, "Yes, I can come." And Germany. I knew that my mysterious bone marrow donor was a German man. But that's all I knew. And so I began to work with Dr. Dahi and all the coordination team through the national registry and the international registry. And I got an email in January of 2017, and it said, "Hi, I'm Michael Meister of Munster, Germany, and I am your donor." And I will be happy to meet with you when you come to Germany. So my son, Matt, and I flew to Munster in June, and we met Michael, who I now call Misha, who is his nickname, and his beautiful wife, Elka, who is also with us tonight. And it was for the first time to meet this mystery man who was my hero. You can imagine there were many tears that day. And when I was finally able to compose myself, I said, "Why did you do this? I'm a stranger. I'm not even German." And Misha, who is so modest, shrugged his shoulders and said, because I could, because I wanted to help. During the course of the day we spent together, I found that Misha and Elka had never been to the U.S. So I invited them to come, and last Saturday, my son Matt and I picked them up at JFK, and they have come to New York for the very first time. So I would like to ask you to help me give him and Elka a big New York welcome. I am so pleased that our trip just happened to coincide with the Thrivers Conference, because I wanted Misha to see, as a donor, what his gift meant, and all the donors, so many of us have had donors, what their gift has for all of the people here in our lives. And so in closing, I said I'm the last speaker. I want to ask us all to have one more round of applause, and that is for two groups. One is for all of our helpers. That is all of our medical team, our doctors, our nurses, and all the support staff, the technologists, the families and friends, all of the people who lift us up and help us get through. And the second group is us, because we are here tonight, and we are healthy, and we have a long and healthy life to look forward to. So here's to us. Yes. So on behalf of Misha and I, thank you all very much, and good life to everyone. Thank you.
Wow. So every year it is, everybody wants to tell their story, and each of your stories are so beautiful and so wonderful and so difficult to choose. So I'm going to ask everybody a favor. Go out and tell your stories, blog, tweet, whatever. Your stories are so inspiring. Your stories help so many people who are beginning the journey the way you began it so many years ago. Once again, I want to thank you all for coming. We have our classic t-shirts, this time memorial blue, I would say. And wear them with pride. You have earned it, you've deserved it. And alas, for your caregivers, thank you too for being there during the hardest times. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and thank you for coming.